Welcome back, guys. So we're going to continue on with some close readings in Mockingbird in the early sections. Um, we left off just at the beginning, opening chapter. We set up some Gothic themes and some issues with brokenness in the society and their background, detailed profile about Atticus. And now we're going to meet one of the first secondary characters here. Your page number may be different, but if you're following along on the PDF that I posted, we're on page 4 here. So here's where we're going to meet Dill, otherwise known as Charles Baker Harris. So here he is being introduced. So we're going to get our first look at Dill. And we'll do a close reading of this because Dill is going to offer a different perspective about how to deal with problems in life and to deal with issues in society and the reality. So our first look at Dill is going to be important to connect back when there's the trial scene and things don't go well in the trial with Tom Robinson, how Dill reacts. So we need to do a character profile here, because this will set us up to see alternate ways of coping with problems. So we're going to see, how does Dill cope with issues? All right. We went to the wire fence to see if there was a puppy Miss Rachel's rat terrier was expecting. Instead, we found someone sitting looking at us. Sitting down, he wasn't much higher than the Collards. We stared at him until he spoke. Hey yourself, said Jem pleasantly. I'm Charles Baker Harris, he said. I can read. So what? I said. I just thought you'd like to know I can read. You got anything needs reading? I can read it. How old are you? Asked Jem. 4.5? Going on 7. Shoot, no wonder then, said Jem, jerking his thumb at me. Scout yonder's been reading ever since she was born, and she ain't even started to school yet. You look right puny for going on 7. I'm little, but I'm old, he said. Jem brushed his hair back to get a better look. Why don't you come over, Charles Baker Harris, he said. Lord, what a name. It's not any funnier than yours. Aunt Rachel says your name's Jeremy Atticus Finch. Jem scowled. I'm big enough to fit mine, he said. Your name's longer than you are. Bet it's a foot longer. Folks call me Dill, said Dill, struggling under the fence. Do better if you go over it instead of under it, I said. Where'd you come from? All right, so actually his nickname is Dill, so I've given him this nice green color because it looks like Dill. Do better if you go over it instead of under it, I said. Where'd you come from? Dill was from Meridian, Mississippi, was spending the summer with his aunt, Miss Rachel, and would be spending every summer in Macomb from now on. His family was from Macomb County originally. His mother worked for a photographer in Meridian, had entered his picture in a beautiful child contest and won $5. She gave the money to Dill, who went to the picture show 20 times on it. So the first thing we learn about Dill, actually, is that when he was given some money, he goes to the picture show 20 times on it. So what's that? The movie theater. So going to the movies is the thing that Dill loved to do. Don't have any picture shows here except Jesus ones in the courthouse sometimes, said Jem. Ever see anything good? Dill had seen Dracula, a revelation that moved Jem to eye him with the beginning of respect. Tell it to us. Okay, what's the movie that Dill had seen? Gothic horror, Dracula. So we get a connection here with our Gothic theme. Dill was a curiosity. He wore blue linen shorts that buttoned to his shirt. His hair was snow white and stuck to his head like duck fluff. He was a year my senior, but I towered over him. As he told us the old tale, his blue eyes would lighten and darken. His laugh was sudden and happy. He habitually pulled out a cowlick in the center of his forehead. When Dill reduced Dracula to dust, and Jem said the show sounded better than the book, I asked Dill where his father was. "You ain't said anything about him." "I haven't got one." "Is he dead?" "No." "Then, if he's not dead, you've got one, haven't you?" Dill blushed, and Jem told me to hush, a sure sign that Dill had been studied and found acceptable. Thereafter the summer passed in routine contentment. Routine contentment was improving our treehouse that rested between giant twin chinaberry trees in the backyard, fussin' running through our list of dramas based on the works of Oliver Optic, Victor Appleton, and Edgar Rice Burroughs. In this matter, we were lucky to have Dill. He played the character parts formerly thrust upon me, the ape in Tarzan, Mr. Crabtree in the Rover Boys, Mr. Damon in Tom Swift. Thus we came to know Dill as a pocket Merlin, whose head teemed with eccentric plans, strange longings, and quaint fancies. Okay, so what do they like to do together? They're young kids. They're spending their summer vacation together. With Dill, they reenact stories, famous stories from comic books, from movies. And Dill is called here a pocket Merlin. Pocket Merlin. Well, what's that? Here, I'll try to draw one. See if I can get any better on this pen here. All right. Well, Merlin was a wizard during King Arthur's time. So Dill is going to be associated with magic, which is really about illusion and I think just one S there, and fantasy, which is going to be connected to drama and acting. Because what are they doing? They're reenacting. So they're acting out these famous stories, playing different characters. But we also learned something about Dill's family here. Scout asks where his father was, and he says he hasn't got one. She's like, "Is he dead?" And he's like, "No." But he looks sad. He blushed. So Dill is having family issues, and apparently father issues. And so he is sent to be with his aunt all summer long. But his dad is not dead, so for some reason his parents don't want him to be with them. So we're going to see about Dill, these family problems, what's going on, and how does he deal with family problems? Well, his method is partly going to be through art, through drama. And what's this going to allow him to do? To escape from his problems. So Dill is going to be one way of coping with life issues is escapism. And is that really a good way to deal with it? By the end of August, our repertoire was vapid from countless reproductions, and it was then that Dill gave us the idea of making Boo Radley come out. The Radley place fascinated Dill. In spite of our warnings and explanations, it drew him as the moon draws water, but drew him no nearer than the light pole on the corner, a safe distance from the Radley gate. There he would stand, his arm around the fat pole, staring and wondering. The Radley place jutted into a sharp curve beyond our house. Walking south, one faced its porch. The sidewalk turned and ran beside the lot. The house was low, was once white, with a deep porch and green shutters, but had long ago darkened to the color of the slate-gray yard around it. So notice the color palette here. What was once a white picket fence is now darkened and slate-gray. So we're going to get a Gothic description of the Radley house, which we need a haunted house instead of a haunted castle. And so these old colonial houses that are run down, decaying slightly. Now, we're also seeing this through the sort of childish perspective of the kids, though. So their perspective, seeing it in this dark Gothic way, is seen through the societal rumors and stories about the Radley house. Okay, so their perspective, their point of view is biased. Okay, so they have bias from the town that is kind of influencing how they see things about the Radley house. Rain-rotted shingles, okay, notice rotted, decaying, rot, when something goes bad. Rain-rotted shingles drooped over the eaves of the veranda. Oak trees kept the sun away. The remains of a picket drunkenly guarded the front yard, a swept yard that was never swept, where Johnson grass and rabbit tobacco grew in abundance. Okay, so rotting remains is another word we use for dead bodies. Drunkenly guarded, drooped down, so things are hanging, falling apart, grass is growing up, and everything is kind of in ill repair. Houses are not being well kept. And then we have our ghost. Inside the house lived a malevolent phantom. Well, malevolent means evil, and phantom is a ghost. People said he existed, but Jem and I had never seen him. People said he went out at night when the moon was down and peeped in windows. When people's azaleas froze in a cold snap, it was because he had breathed on them. Any stealthy small crimes committed in Maycomb were his work. Once the town was terrorized by a series of morbid nocturnal events. People's chickens and household pets were found mutilated. Although the culprit was Crazy Addie, who eventually drowned himself, and Barker's Eddie, people still looked at the Radley place, unwilling to discard their initial suspicions. A Negro would not pass the Radley place at night. He would cut across the sidewalk opposite and whistle as he walked. The Maycomb school guards adjoined the back of the Radley lot. From the Radley chicken yard, tall pecan trees shook their fruit into the schoolyard, but the nuts lay untouched by the children. Radley pecans would kill you. A baseball hit into the Radley yard was a lost ball and no questions asked. Okay, so here we see the town people's view, the townsfolk's view of the Radley house. And even the kids won't collect their baseballs. They won't eat nuts from the tree. People won't walk close to the house. And when bad things happen in the town, like this crazy person killed some animals, they blamed it on Boo Radley, even when there was evidence that it wasn't really him. So here we see injustice and gossip as well, which will be more important, which we'll get into later in another video.